Hi, my name is Mark McDowell. I'm the managing director here at Primal. We're a digital agency based in Thailand, and we help Thai brands grow. So every week we take one question and we help to answer it. These can come from our prospects, our audience, our clients, whomever it may be, and then we answer them on a weekly basis. So for this week's question, we're going to be answering, where do I even begin putting together a content marketing strategy? So content marketing's been a big word that's been growing in use over the past few years, and it's been growing exponentially. And the reason why is simply because content marketing is providing value to your audience. And the reason why it works so well is because it helps your brand have tons of authority and get your audience to trust you, even your potential prospects, and get them to later then convert over the long term into more revenue for your business. So, a lot of companies currently it's very resource heavy, which, can be quite a significant investment for some businesses, even to embark on it. But hopefully, with some tips and tricks today, you'll be able to have a think about it a little bit more, take away something and perhaps even implement something on a smaller scale or even on a huge scale, for your brand. So, this video is really tailored for any business, because whether you're an SME providing plumb fittings for houses, or you're a massive brand selling in retail or fashion, there's any industry could literally produce content. As strange as that might sound, there's always value to be had in providing value to your potential customers. So where does one begin? And first you would need to look at your business. What are your objectives as a business? You need to look at, I want to generate more revenue and more profit. Where does that even begin? And you start to backtrack. So for a particular business, if you've got a sales team, you obviously need to generate a lot of leads, right? Which then turn into potential meetings and then turn into contracts, or from a B2B perspective, which then eventually turns into more revenue. If you're an e-commerce site, obviously you're looking for more online sales. If you're a retail brick and mortar store, then you're looking for more walk-ins for people to then look at the products and then potentially purchase something. So, have a look at what your objectives are, because eventually you'll need to tie that into your content in order to make it effective. So have a look at your objectives. Next, once you know what your objectives are, have a look at who your potential prospects or customers are. So if you're looking at your current client base, or if you're a startup, you would have a look at who your potential customers are through market research, or even just having a hypothesis as to who potentially is a strong candidate to buy your products and services. So you really want to go deep on this one, because identifying your customer and who potentially will buy from you is a huge, is one of the most important steps, because all of the content that you're going to be creating has to resonate with this particular audience. It's got to resonate with their interests, it's got to, resonate with their goals, and it's got to help them solve problems. So you want to do some research. You can do surveys. You can have a look at, who your potential target audiences are. And you've really got to find out, okay, where are these people hanging out? Are they on Facebook? Are they on LinkedIn, more so for the B2B audience? Are they, on YouTube? Are they, chatting in line? Are they doing a lot of searches in Google? Like, what do these people do online? Do they go to forums like Pantip, for instance? You've really got to get into the heads of who your prospect is and understand where their pain points are when it comes to your product or service. So having done some research, or even just having some ideas about who you potentially want to target, you then want to have a look at where they're hanging out, right? And what problems these people are facing. So once you've identified those issues, you can then start to think about, well, how can I go about adding value to these people's lives through content in order to help them, solve these particular problems. So one really good tactic to do is actually to go to forums online and have a look at, what these people are talking about in public, which is a good thing because you get access to that information about a particular brand, about, your particular industry, what kind of things are important to them. And, you'll start to get an idea in the psyche of these particular people so that you can start to, have a look at content that's going to help them, solve some problems. One key thing that you do when organizing your content strategy is that you're going to have to look at your content funnel. So hopefully we'll get a picture up here of what that potentially looks like. And it's basically broken down into 3 stages. The top stage being tofu, which we call top of funnel, mofu being middle of the funnel, and bofu being bottom of the funnel. So top of the funnel content is content that's really helping to solve people's problems. It could be a blog post, it could be a video, it could be a white paper, it could be an ebook, it could be a leaflet, whatever it may be that helps to solve a particular problem that people are asking out there online. Middle of the funnel content looks more like, it's a little bit more branded. It could be a case study about, how your company helped to solve a particular problem, what the process was, what the outcomes were, and, how potentially, because the idea is to drive people down this funnel, right? So if you grab their attention first by giving them value through top of the funnel content, they are more likely then to be more receptive to the middle of the funnel content, where you start to talk about yourself a little bit more. And then bottom of the funnel content is more about offers. It's the next step basically for someone to get in touch with your business, or it's an offer to get them to buy. So typically it looks like a funnel. So obviously majority of the content that you're going to be producing is going to be giving tons of value, right? The premise that you're giving before you take, essentially the underlying foundations of content marketing, because you want to give tons of value, show your authority that you're a leader in the space and everything there is to know about solving problems within this space, so that people trust you. As soon as they trust you, it's much more easier to ask for them to purchase from your business, brand, product, whatever it may be. So the idea is that you understand your objectives. What do we need more of? You understand your target audience and what kind of questions and problems they're facing. And then you're starting to develop content that's really going to help solve their problems. So the next step in this would essentially be to have a think about, because you understand your audience now, you know where they hang out, potentially what they do. And now it's time to start organizing what kind of mediums your business can actually promote this content through to ensure that it reaches the right people. The other thing to consider is how you're going to schedule your content. What resources do I have internally to help me produce the content I need to produce in order to help people solve problems? So if you've got a graphic designer, if you've got a videographer, if you have access to these kind of resources, then that's really good, because you can start to produce content. And if your resources are limited, then you can start with a blog post. If your website's got a blog, that's a really good place to start, or even producing content on your Facebook page. So the idea is that content marketing is very long term. You're not going to see an impact within, let's say, the first month of doing so. You really need to see how it impacts and reaches your audience over the long term. And the reason why is because you're not going to immediately get a large audience simply just by posting a blog post. The idea is that you're extremely consistent in this and that your audience grows over time. And so does the authority and the trust through this content. So, how does, you also want to be able to measure the content that you're producing. So when you're producing content online, whether it's a YouTube video, whether it's a post on Facebook, all of this stuff is extremely measurable. So just make sure that you are measuring these things over time and seeing how this actually impacts your bottom line through certain key metrics. And especially with the recent Facebook newsfeed changes, because a lot of content marketers use Facebook as a medium to push out content to users. Brands really need to focus on the quality content that's really going to resonate with people at the top of the funnel in order to get people to be open and resonate with the top of the funnel content. And because it's going to be high quality, they really need to focus on the diminishing organic reach for brands that's happening within Facebook shortly. So it's really important that whatever content you're producing is super high quality and it's really helping your potential prospects or customers or audience. Another thing is to remain extremely unique. If you look at all the different brands out there, you'll probably notice there's a lot of people saying, the same thing. We've been here for 25 years, we have all of the experts, we know how to do business in this industry extremely well. Well, everyone can say that. So you've really got to find those differentiating factors within brands or businesses that's really going to help you set you apart when it comes to the content marketing. You got to think of a strong angle that you can come from that really separates you from the rest. So thing that brands do as well, that it really helps when brands have a face as well to the business. So if there's someone who's open to being, let's say, the face of the brand, or experts who are comfortable being in front of, let's say, cameras, this can also really help create new opportunities to produce content and push it out to your target. So another thing that I wanted to touch on as well, so we've talked about objectives, we've talked about understanding who your audience is, where they hang out, what problems they have, the content funnel, the types of content that could go in the various stages of the funnel, being unique, understanding that content's a long-term thing. It's all very much about execution and how well you can do that consistently. The next part would be how you would organize this within your team. So you've got your assets, you've got what types of content you want to be producing, and what platforms you want to reach your audience on. So now it's like starting to come together. Now you've got to organize, who's going to be doing what copywriter could be helping to produce a blog post, what videographers could be helping to produce the videos, what are the videos going to be about that's going to help solve a particular problem, and how are we going to distribute this content over time, and how are we going to schedule it. So one really cool tool that we've been exposed to here at Primal is one called Monday.com. It used to go by another name, I forget now, but it's a really good tool to organize a social media schedule between multiple people involved in executing that strategy. So it's worthwhile checking out. It's like spreadsheets on crack. It's super awesome. Have a look. So I hope this video helps you have a think about a content marketing strategy and how you could go about, executing one for your own business, for your own brand. And thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in videos like this or any of our social media platforms, and we'll be sure to pick it up next week. Thank you.